Doug Casey is a best-selling author and the chairman of Casey Research. His company has just released a documentary on the U.S. economy. It's called Meltdown America, and it warns of tough times ahead.
We're at the edge of a precipice, which is similar to the way things were back in 2007. Similar, but much, much worse.
The truth is, since 2000, our debt has tripled, and our total liabilities and unfunded promises have more than tripled.
Such large and growing federal debt could have serious negative consequences.
Not for the weak of heart. From a U.S. economic perspective, Doug Casey recently sat down with CCTV's Jessica Stone, and he told her why he thinks the worst is yet to come for the U.S. economy.
All of the things which caused the meltdown that started in 2007, really, are still in play. In fact, they're worse now than they were back then. There's much more debt in the world than there was now. The Federal Reserve has shot all the arrows in its quiver by creating, over the last 5 years, about $5 trillion worth of new currency units that are currently just sitting in the banks, but they'll come out of the banks, and that's going to result in high retail inflation. They've created, in the process of doing that, they've created a gigantic bond bubble. It's actually the biggest bubble in history, bigger than the real estate bubble of 2006 and 7, bigger than the stock market bubble of 2001. We're in the midst of a bond bubble right now, so there's nothing has really changed. It's gotten worse. It's just been papered over by the creation of all these new currency units. There are about, nobody knows for sure, but about 8 trillion US dollars outside of the US. It's been a major export of the US for many years. We send our dollars abroad, and those nice Japanese send us Sonys, and the Germans send us Mercedes. It's a wonderful trade. We give them paper, they give us real stuff. But those dollars are still out there. And at some point, when foreigners lose confidence in the dollar, they don't have to hold it the way Americans do. They'll ship them back into the US in exchange for title to real estate, stocks, businesses, wheat, computers. So we get those dollars, and they get the real wealth.
So you're saying this is going to come back to haunt the United States, but how else would you have gotten us out of the recession?
Well, very simple. The way to economic prosperity is by producing more than you consume and saving the difference. That's how you get wealthy. You don't get wealthy by printing up money, because printing up money gives all kinds of false signals to the economy and to businessmen.
Do you see a role for Russia and China in the American meltdown as well?
Well, actually, the Russians and the Chinese are very smart when it comes to monetary matters. They have fiat currencies as the dollar, but the Russian and Chinese governments are buying a lot of gold. And at some point, the ruble and the yuan could come out and become the new international currency. And when they do, I expect it'll be a gold-backed ruble or a gold-backed yuan.
What's the solution? You've talked about the common sense way that average citizens deal with it, producing more than they spend, saving the difference. The U.S. is beginning to produce more, bringing back manufacturing to this country. That's certainly the Obama administration's approach to solving the problem of creating something in the United States. Is that a direction? And if not, what is the right direction?
Well, I'm unconvinced that that actually is what they're doing. If you want to see the U.S. become prosperous, truly prosperous, you should work towards eliminating taxes, taking them as close to zero as possible.
Across the board, no taxes on anything.
Basically. If you want something...
How do you fund schools, roads?
Well, how do you buy your car? You save money and you buy your car. And the same is true of almost any service the government provides.
So your solution is no taxes. What else?
I think that anything you want and need, or society wants and needs, will be paid for by the people in society, okay? As far as regulations are concerned, most of these agencies that fill Washington, D.C. and bedevil businessmen and consumers both should be abolished. from the Department of Agriculture, which is about the oldest one. There are more employees of the Department of Agriculture than there are farmers in this country at this point almost. And they do their best to stop farmers from farming at this point. So taxes are a bane, regulations a bane, and inflation is the third gift of government. And the Federal Reserve should be abolished.
Is there anywhere in the world where this is working?
I would say the places that it's come closest to what I'm advocating are places like Hong Kong and Singapore. Very low taxation, very minimal taxation, very, very little regulation. And that's what's turned both of those places from totally backward, awful places after World War II, full of ignorant Chinese peasants, to having to being the wealthiest places on the planet at this point. So the solution is a free market, free minds and free markets.
That was Doug Casey, best-selling author and founder and chairman at the Casey Research.